Sure, thank you for sitting down with me. I want to talk a little bit about a few things. One is growth, innovation, and then obviously as entrepreneurs who work in cities where they've got employees that live and work and give back to the community, the idea of corporate responsibility. But let's talk a little bit about growth. You and I have sat down a few years ago, and since then you've experienced significant growth. Talk about some of the challenges you've overcome in that growth over the past 3 years.
I think the biggest challenge was me getting out of the way. I'd done all the sales for our company the first 6 years of the company's existence. So taking the company from my basement with zero revenue to about 15 million in revenue, and realized that I couldn't do it all and that there were people who could do it better for me. So hiring a VP of Business Development who had a wealth of experience in selling to the healthcare industry, which is where we excel. Mm-hmm. And him bringing in a professional team of salespeople. And I always think that nobody can do it better than me, but they simply are better than me. And they're getting us into places that I never dreamed we would be.
Talk about some of those places and how that's really affected the growth of the business in a positive way.
Well, up until a few years ago, we were strictly healthcare. But in the last couple of years, we've expanded to doing printing and mailing for one of the largest public utility companies in the nation, as well as Vanderbilt University, mm-hmm. and then some large healthcare systems.
And as you go through that process where you're able to expand and stretch what you do, what do you learn as a leader along the way?
Oh, that I need really bright, ambitious, hardworking people working for me. And so my entire, not just in senior leadership, but across the board, the team that I work with are incredibly bright and very driven.
How do you find people like that?
We are very lucky that we've gotten tons of press because of our company's unique culture, and so that drives people to us. Everybody wants to work at LetterLogic. And I speak at all of the Vanderbilt HOD classes and then some of the graduate school courses there. And immediately those students want to come to LetterLogic. They want to see our culture. They want to experience it. They want to write their papers about the company. They want to intern there, and then they want to work there. So we've gotten a lot of press because of our culture. Recently, I realized that for the company to grow to the next level, I really needed a stronger IT leader. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking nationwide for the right person to lead our department, and surprised that at the caliber of individuals that were applying for the job. And in fact, in some of the interviews, we looked at each other in amazement. Can you believe they're at this table with us, wanting to work here? But it's because they all came to the table saying, we've heard about your company for years, and we thought that's the kind of company that I want to work with. So our culture has legs of its own and has brought lots of attention to us and helped us to attract the right kind of people.
Sherry, talk a little bit about that culture. What are some of the traits that make it so unique?
Well, we don't put the customer first, and we tell the customers that from the very beginning. We are putting the employees first, mm-hmm. with the thought that if we took extraordinary care of the employees, that they would in turn take extraordinary care of the customer. And so toward that end, from the very beginning of LetterLogic, we gave 10% of the profit to the employees monthly. And importantly, it's distributed evenly. So the receptionist gets the same thing the CFO gets, who gets the same thing the truck driver gets, who gets the same thing I get as a profit share. And that lets everybody know that their job is just as important as every other job in getting out a perfect product. And then we've paid since day one for 100% of the employees' medical, dental, disability, and life insurance. We let everybody bring their kids and their pets to work when they want to. We pay them by the mile if they walk or bike to work. And that's part of our greening initiative, really, but also to encourage the employees to use public transportation. Your ID badge to come into the company is also a public transportation pass. So you can take public transportation free anytime you want to on the company to anywhere that the public transportation in Nashville serves. We also help all the employees buy their first home with gifts toward the down payment or closing costs on their first home. If you have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, then LetterLogic will move you from job to job within the company so you can learn the different facets of running a company. And when you're ready to leave, we'll invest in your business. So we've got one employee who's, I think he's been with me 7 years, and he borrowed money about 4 years ago. His business is doing so well that he's going to leave us soon. As he, it'll be a sad day, but happy too that he is going to be able to build wealth for himself and for the community.
Sherry, that is an enormous amount of unique ideas that you've created for that culture. Where did those ideas come from?
I wish I could take credit for all of them, but our company slogan is SQS. So if you visit us, you'll walk into a foyer first, and then before you walk into the factory, you'll see over the door SQS, which stands for the status quo sucks. And that's just to remind everybody every day that you're incentivized, rewarded for change. Change to processes, to systems, to whatever you can do to improve morale, do it. And so we have a suggestion of the month. Once a month we close down the factory for a few hours. We have lunch catered in, and we go over all the suggestions to improve the company in any way. And we reward one person with the best suggestion of the month, and they get $100 on the spot. They don't care about the money as much as they care about being heard. And then we implement about 80% of the suggestions we get. So even if you don't win the reward money, you'll have your suggestion heard and then implemented. And that keeps everybody engaged and looking at better ways to do things. And at that time, we also vote on the team player of the month, which person most lived the values of the company. The person who gets the most votes each month gets $100, but the person who gets the most votes collectively throughout the month gets an all-expense paid trip to the resort of their choice plus $1,000 spending money. And that's just, for living the values consistently. So all of those things create a culture where we are always trying to do things better and always looking to improve the company and to improve ourselves.
Which is the group that makes the decisions of who those people are that are being recognized and which ideas are implemented?
It used to be me. And I had a Vanderbilt student who had heard me and came out, and he did his paper on LetterLogic, and he shadowed us in all the meetings. And as he left, he gave us a report about the company and how extraordinary we were, and he said, there's one problem I see. It's like you are the fairy godmother who's giving all the gifts. And I think that it would be much more in line with what you say you are if you let that come from the team. So I backed out of it. I'm not involved in that at all now. It is the group as a whole votes, and they choose the person, they choose the suggestion. So it's really about the company and not about me.
Change is inevitable in every business. You said that you started with medical and you've been able to expand beyond that with healthcare. How do you personally approach change in the industry, in your organization, in your portfolio mix, and then your own ability to be a leader?
Well, just with the motto, the status quo sucks, I think part of what has driven me is that it's never quite good enough. And so I'm always looking to improve myself. I take courses constantly. I read everything that I can get my hands on about leadership. And so challenging myself and creating an environment where people feel safe and making mistakes. So we have a mistake quota. Everybody is required to come to the quarterly meeting explaining and publicizing their biggest mistake of the quarter and what they learned from it. And so you start to build trust and respect with each other, for each other, so you're not afraid to expose your mistakes. I'm not a very tech savvy person. I'm really having a hard time navigating my iPhone, but we're at a stage where the company really needs to move from being a manufacturing company to being a technology company, as more statements and invoices go paperless. And so that's been a hurdle for me. That's why I knew that we needed to hire a new IT director, and that I need to back off and let that team take the lead, and for technology to be leading and not me to be leading.
You mentioned mistake quota, and that everybody comes with their mistakes that they've made. Do you capture that information, combine it, and distribute it?
We do. We just started doing that recently. We actually have a secretary or a scribe, if you will, who attends those meetings, and they take copious notes on everything. Every conversation is recorded, but he also writes the cliff notes, and we publish those weekly on a flat screen in the plant, because everybody wants to know, what are those meetings about? What are you talking about? And we realized that, you know, part of our open, the open culture that we tried to build needed to have those doors open to them too, even though they might not be able to attend. So we let them know exactly what we're talking about through those notes.
Excellent.
And memorializing the conversations.
Take it back in time a little bit. Tell me the impetus behind how you founded the company and what year that was.
It was 2011. I was working, 2001. I was working for a company who did exactly what I do, and I didn't like the way they did business. I would sell one new account and they would lose one account. And I kept trying to get them to change the way they did business, the way they treated employees, the way they treated customers. And because I only have a high school education, they told me that I didn't know anything about business, I couldn't run a business, and just to go sell another account. And so in frustration, in November of 2001, I quit, which was a big deal. I'd gone from a time just a few years before that when I couldn't pay my electric bill. And I was a single mom, didn't have electricity most of the time because I couldn't pay rent and pay the electric bill, to fast forwarding to 7 years later where I was making $16,000 a month. And to be able to walk away from that and to set up shop competing with them was a big deal. It started in my basement and changed my lifestyle so that I could, when you start making $16,000 a month, you start spending $16,000 a month.
Yes.
So I had to change my lifestyle so that I could start the company. And it's been a good ride.
Well, with the growth that you've had, one of the things you're known for, you're obviously going to be speaking on, is the importance of corporate responsibility, corporate philanthropy, giving back to the communities where you live and work. Talk about how this tie between the giving back, the growing a company, having these employees who are committed to this concept with the culture, helps strengthen the communities where you're at.
I've been surprised at how important it's been. When I started the company, I didn't even know the term corporate responsibility. And so I certainly that wasn't part of my plan. It's just been a natural progression when I could see the impact that our culture was making. And when I would do a public speaking engagement, and then CEOs from across the country would be calling me to say, I want to do what you do. And they would always say, we can't afford to do all you do, but we want to copy some of it. So tell us how to get started. And making them realize that my company is not successful in spite of all those things we do with the employees. We're successful because of it. And that enables us to, you know, create a culture where we're helping each other and letting that spread out into the community. So it's made people in my company that had never done community service before start doing that. Mm-hmm. So we worked together on habitat builds. For the first time ever, we sponsored a habitat house last year, which is a big deal for a company of 40 employees. We have been very active in the Nashville's Greenways for Nashville, where mm-hmm. we're creating and preserving open space, and working with a company called Hands on Nashville that recently we contributed money to, and then also went into the community where our factory is located to retrofit homes there where the elderly are living that didn't have adequate insulation or adequate caulking around the windows, mm-hmm. and things of that nature, to help them reduce their energy consumption and energy costs, and as part of our corporate responsibility. And it was lots of fun, great team building, but doing the right thing in our community. And I think all of that has, it's been great for that local community, but seeing how we've influenced other companies, bigger companies around the country, to make them want to do more of that has mm-hmm. been good.
How about from a perspective of selecting which organizations or causes to support? Is that groundswell coming from your employees? Is it coming from your own personal background? Where do you determine this from?
In the early days, all the employees voted, and we gave money in every direction. And a few years ago, we decided that Habitat was where we really wanted to spend the bulk of our charitable giving, mm-hmm. I guess you would say.
Sure.
And we felt it was more important to give larger sums of money to a few organizations than to give little dribs and drabs to several. And I think we're all on board with that. I know everybody has lots of fun, and that Habitat's a good team building thing too. We're also supporters of the YWCA, and probably 5 or 6 big organizations like that that have a local presence, so we can feel the local impact on our community.
You mentioned the YWCA. Founding this business as a single mom,
Yes.
where the YWCA is all about the empowerment of women to succeed and be powered for life. Do you think that subconsciously is an organization that really embodies everything that allowed you to become an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our local YWCA is just a power to be reckoned with. They are doing tremendous things for women and for families, and I love supporting them.
Fantastic. You know, one of the things that I see with companies around America is that when they find the ability to align themselves with a limited number of causes and be able to focus their efforts on those things, they're able to create immediate impact, an enormous impact, rather than just spreading it across numerous organizations.
Exactly.
Is that something that, have you been able to do this? You mentioned 2 to 3 organizations where you've been able to really create your focus. Do you see the tangible results of that, not only within what you see there, but in terms of how your employees respond to it?
I saw it especially the last 2 builds that we've done, because we were working in the community where our office is, and a few of my employees live in that community, and for them to go to work on their neighbors' houses, that gave them a sense of pride that here they're bringing in their friends to work on the neighbors' houses was a beautiful thing.
Excellent. You know, at the end of the day, organizations that give back become stronger. And that's a fact I think the Kauffman Foundation's been able to prove over the years. How do you see its impact on you, not just on the employees, but your reputation, on your ability to lead, and for people to follow when you make decisions based on understanding those things you do?
I think if we didn't have this culture of giving and of taking care of each other and taking care of the community, the company wouldn't be where it is now. And last year I had 7 different companies in Nashville, 3 of them banks, that asked me to serve on their boards. And knowing that that's a great place for women to be now on corporate boards, but the way that exposes more people to our culture, this type of culture where you put the employees first, and the impact that could have on business.
Excellent. And finally, as an entrepreneur, it can be a very lonely thing. Lonely place, not a lot of people to turn to other than potentially peers. What keeps you up at night, and who do you turn to for advice with those issues?
What keeps me up at night are just the excitement of the next day. I'm having more fun than I've had in years running the company. My husband, I started dating him about 7 years ago, and he is an entrepreneur too. And when our early dating was all business. We would talk business, and he's a brilliant man, for a couple of hours at a time. And I still look forward to every day coming home to him and learning about what happened in his business that day and sharing my day. And I think we help each other. But he is my primary mentor.
Excellent. Well, Sherry, I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.